seat, let's get started. This meeting, once we get started, should take only half an hour. Welcome to everybody who's here. I want to welcome the familiar faces, the returning guys who've worked as umpires for us before, the new faces, the folks who probably just finished up their majors Little League career last year and now are interested in continuing with the league as umpires. And I'd also like to say hello to the adults here because I hope, hey, who are you? I hope some of you are here because you're also interested in being an umpire, not just getting your kids signed up and making a little walking around money doing it. How many teams play or are at every SRBLL game? How many teams? There's 3 teams. And just as the other teams are forming and they're having their managers selected, and then they're going to start practice in about a month. Well, the third team on the field is the umpiring team. You and your partner, the plate and the field umpires, are one of the 3 indispensable teams without which we do not have baseball. And like any good team, we have to start preparing. We actually start preparing before the other teams do because we go through several weeks of training in order to become San Ramon Valley Little League umpires. So what do you need to do? What do you need to be an umpire for us? Well, the first thing is you have to be at least league age 13. Okay? League age 13. That means you could be 12 now, but turn 13 at some point in the next few months. League age 13. For those of you who played majors all the way through to your last year of eligibility, okay, you're now eligible to be umpires. The other thing you need is you must submit every year, regardless of whether you are a new or a returning umpire, you must submit an application and a medical release form. For new and for all new and returning umpires, you must pass the rules test every year. The only people who are exempted are the UIC Americans. I don't make Jeff Walsh and Danny Dodge take the test. Okay, but everybody else needs to pass the test. And let me tell you this, to pass that test, even if you think you know everything in the green book, it's good to show up for the rules training. Everyone is supposed to show up for rules training because we administer that test, which is 20 questions and you have to get 16 of them right to pass. We routinely administer that test to members of the board who take it cold. And guess how many of them pass? None. I've never, and that includes everybody, league presidents, on down to anyone on the board that I hand that test to them cold, and they do not get 16 out of 20 right. The best I've ever seen is 15. Someone came close. So you really need to do a rules training in order to pass the rules test because you're expected to know the rules. Pulling out the rule book in between innings or in between plays is unacceptable. How many of my veteran umpires here have done that? You haven't, because you're not supposed to. Now, the other thing you need to do if you are a new umpire, you want to become a San Ramon Valley Little League umpire, is you must attend the field mechanics clinic. Here's the date, Saturday, February 6th. I hope that's a Saturday. It is?
It is.
Oh, it isn't? All right, it's the Saturday, maybe it's Sunday yet, but it's February the 6th, I'm pretty sure. It is a field mechanics training that we are going to jointly do in Tasahara Valley. It's that first weekend in February. It's going to be at Sycamore, which is a great facility for that sort of thing. It is about a solid half day.
So it's the first Saturday, Robert, it's the second one?
Sunday, the 3rd.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's February 9th. Flip it around. February 9th. And that will all be, by the way, put out in writing because I just found out that Tasahara Valley is going to do it this year. They had to clear that conflict for that to get the facility for that date. So this will all be in an email that's going to come out later this week or first thing next week, confirming everything we covered at this meeting. Now, that field mechanics training is for all new umpires. Let me see all my returning umpires. Raise your hand. You don't have to do it. But you're welcome to do it, and I may ask come out and help with us in the training. Now, the returning umpires, like I said, you need your application and medical release form every year. It's recommended that you come to all 4 rules training sessions. We're going to try and videotape them this year and upload the content onto our league website if you miss one. But we are not going online in terms of how we train umpires. Umpiring is a very hands-on, tactile, learn by doing kind of thing. So it is really important for you to show up for rules training. But if you happen to miss a session, then you can hopefully, we'll have the content online for you to take a look at. Now, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to go through all the training to become a San Ramon Valley Little League umpire? And let me sort of stop and go in age order. If you're an adult, it is a tremendous volunteer opportunity. If, for example, you have an older son who is now old enough to be an umpire, but you've still got a younger son or daughter knocking around in the league and you want to satisfy your volunteer hours requirement, if you complete the training, you've already satisfied your volunteer hours commitment. And so everything else is gravy in terms of the hours. But more importantly than satisfying some equipment, some requirement that saves you some money in terms of participating in the league, you'll get an opportunity, for example, to spend some time with your son. I see people in here who I know were great coaches for San Ramon Valley Little League. And now their sons are at the age where they're no longer playing Little League. And this is an opportunity to continue to spend time with your son. And I've got people who I'm staring right at who did exactly that last year and had a great time doing it, unless I'm wrong, right, Lynchies? Yeah. And we've got John Rebels, and you know, the Rebels has come out and do it. The Fulhams have been doing it for years. We've got the Walshes, you know, my predecessors in the UIC work games together. It's a great thing to do. So I highly recommend it. And then one other thing that I really can't say enough of is a justification or an explanation for when you go and tell the rest of your family why it is you're putting on this weird uniform and you're going to go umpire a game, is it is giving something back to your community. You know, a lot of you gave up a lot of your time as coaches to try and make kids into better baseball players and, more importantly, better citizens. Well, your opportunity to continue to do that is not over. Your opportunity to continue to contribute to life lessons and making your sons better people, better leaders, better prepared to function in the world is not over. Because you can put on the gear and go out and work the plate or the bases with you. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. Father-son umpire teams have priority in scheduling with me. Because I try the best I can to accommodate that. So I want to encourage some of you might have already submitted applications and are planning on doing it. Others are sitting there thinking, oh, nah, I'm just here to get the information to my kid. Give it some thought. It's a wonderful thing to do. Now, why else would you want to do this? Well, I'm looking at the blog of my returning umpires over there, and money. Am I right? I mean, it's an opportunity to make some money, and it fits in with whatever your work or school schedule may be. You know, as you move on through high school, or you know, you go get a real day job after high school, you go on to college, you can keep umpiring as a way to supplement your income, keep your fingers in the game, and have it work with your schedule. And for those of you who are on the younger side, you just turned 13 or 14 or 15, I mean, let's face it, there aren't that many legitimate ways for a 14-year-old boy to earn money. Legitimate. And this is something where you're not only going to earn some money umpiring, you're going to do it while you are making yourself a stronger person. You learned a lot about citizenship and responsibility and life lessons as part of Little League. That is what Little League is about. Little League is not about preparing you for high school baseball or to be a top draft pick for the San Francisco Giants. Little League is about citizenship. And continuing on as a Little League umpire is citizenship, your master's degree. Little League was your undergraduate degree in citizenship. This is your master's degree. And you will probably, some of you, for the first time in your life, be put in positions of responsibility where you are confronted by adults. One thing to have a clear authority, like one of your teachers, get in your grill for not doing something or for doing something wrong. It is another thing to have an adult manager who is more than twice your age get in your grill over something, because first of all, he shouldn't be doing it. But it's another thing, and it's an important life lesson to get through. And you are in a position of both responsibility and authority. Those two things come together. You have authority if the person's behavior is out of line, to throw them out of the game. You as a 13-year-old boy. However, you have a responsibility to the league and the game to try and learn how to manage that situation in a way to defuse the tension, to explain why you made the call the way you did, to graciously and politely explain why this particular coach or manager does not have the rule right. Or you can say, you know what, I didn't think about that. Let me talk to my partner and see if we can get this call right. And that is all part of growing as people. And strangely enough, most people who stick with this tend to have a certain amount of fun with it. So, a few other things. What else do you need to become a San Ramon Valley Little League umpire? You will need some equipment, even though you're going to get most of it. You're going to get a cap like this, or I think our new ones actually have blue lettering. You're going to get a shirt. You're going to get one of these. I mean, we don't throw these for like holding. Okay, you know what this is for, right?
It's a challenge.
It's not. It's not. No, it's not a challenge flag, but that's a great answer. Someone leaves the base early, you can throw it down so that you remember that. It's a little signal flag yourself. And then I know that this room is half full of people who know what this is. What is this called?
Indicator.
It is an indicator. It is not a clicker. That's how you can weed the non-umpires from the umpires. They call this a clicker. This is an indicator. So we'll give you the cap, the shirt, a little flag. We spend a lot of money on these little bits of cloth. And this indicator. And you will also be provided with all the plate equipment you need. And by the way, for those of you who have spent some time working in the league, you'll know what I'm saying when I ask for this. Please help us maintain that equipment. Take care of it, knock the dust off it before you put it back in the bin, and try not to lose it. But you'll get all your plate gear so that you can work behind the plate. So what do you need to supply? Well, you need pants and shoes. Presumably, I think all of you are here. So in an ideal world, you might get yourself a pair of gray slacks. As you move on and you like umpiring, you'll want to get yourself a pair of black shoes and a pair of gray slacks. But let's face it, most of you are teenage boys. You're going to go out there in your basketball shorts and your tennis shoes, and you're going to call the game. The one thing that I really recommend that you also supply for yourself is if you threw your cup in the back of a drawer after you were done playing baseball. A lot of you I know are not done playing baseball. You're continuing to play at higher levels. Go dig that thing out. Because when you're doing plate work, you're going to want to wear that. Because, I mean, how many people remember AA? You new guys are going to be working primarily AA games. And how many times do the pitchers hit the target at AA? How many times does the catcher stop the ball at AA? You're going to get hit. So you're going to want to wear your cups if you're doing the plate. So, what do you get paid? You start out at $20 per game. It's $25 if you're doing the plate. Okay, that's what you make. When you are 16 or a veteran 15, such that I'm comfortable moving you up, you can do majors games where you will make $30 and $35. But you got to be a couple years older because it's really, really important to get a couple of years of separation between you and the guys playing in majors. One of the most awkward things you can do is be a 13-year-old umpire and there's some 10-year-old kid who's on your team and you're going to call him out on the strikes. We don't want that. So we try to have a little bit of age separation between the two. If you get to the level where you're working juniors games, it becomes $40 and $45. A lot of you may be playing juniors baseball in addition to umpiring. You're not going to be doing this. You've got to be an older guy. You've got to be someone more like Chris's age. Who's the man, of course. And on top of everything else, if you're like Chris and you're a San Bernardino Western Region umpire school alum, we tack on another $5 to everything you make. You get to wear a special light blue shirt. And I'm telling you, that program, I haven't been to it. It is invaluable training. If anyone interested likes what they're doing here and wants to go to that school, I recommend it. Now, how do you get work as an umpire if you go through all this? You've done all your training, you've qualified because you've passed the rules test, you've been to field mechanics training, and you're ready to go. How do you get your assignments? You have no minimum or maximum obligation. You can do one game or none or dozens of games. It is what fits with your schedule. You will receive the schedule. You will have the opportunity to look at that schedule. You'll have the opportunity to consult your calendar. You'll have the opportunity to consult, more importantly, with mom and dad, or whoever might be the helper of your calendar. And you can say, which of these games can I do? You know, which of these games will I have a ride to this field at this time to do it? Which of these games don't conflict with my, whatever schedule? And so you'll have the opportunity to sign up. You don't have to sign up for anything if it doesn't fit within your schedule. But there is one ironclad rule. If you sign up to do a game and that game is assigned to you, you must do that game or find a replacement. You don't get to call me or email me and say, Mr. Ward, I screwed up my schedule. I forgot that, we're going to be in Tahoe that weekend. Well, guess what? I'm going to say, well, now you have two problems because I'm not going to solve your problem. You've got to go solve it yourself. And that is part of citizenship and responsibility, because I know the parents in the room may empathize with what I'm about to say. It's part of what you're trying to teach is how to manage your own calendar, how to be responsible for your own time, how to look at your week and realize, okay, if I've got basketball practice that night and I've got soccer that day, and I know those seasons don't overlap, but whatever, you get what I'm trying to say, and I've signed up to be an umpire on Thursday, when am I going to get my homework done? And that's part of what you have to learn when you're 13, 14, 15. Some people might be 26 here and not learn how to do that. So that's what you learn how to do. So that's it. That's what it's being about. That's what you have to do. It's why you might want to do it. Who has questions?
The trainings that they have to go to, are those weeknights or?
I didn't even say that, but and I will put this in an email so everyone knows. Every Wednesday night at this time for the next 4 weeks, and instead of being in here, it'll be in one of the classrooms. It is a 1-hour rules training session, and it will go exactly 1 hour. So for parents in terms of picking up, it's not like, it's not like a game where you may show up and you find out it's only the 4th inning. It's 1 hour. I will stop talking after 1 hour and you can leave. So there are 4 1-hour training sessions, and what we cover in the training sessions are the rule book. It's conceivable someone could read this cover to cover and be able to pass the rules test. It is unlikely. It is unlikely. Because it is far better to go through this during the rules training sessions and understand, because what we try and do is we try and focus in the, how many pages is this up to? I mean, if you include all the appendix pages, it's probably up to about 125 pages. What we focus on is what you really need to know to do SRVLO games. And so we take 4 1-hour sessions to do that. Then there is a 5th week, which is where you show up and you take the rules test. We have pizza. It usually takes much less than an hour for everyone to take the test and pass it. If you don't pass it, you have to arrange with me to take it again. So it's important to try and pass it. And if you don't pass it, you don't become an umpire after investing those 4 hours. And during the process, you are welcome to email, ask questions. Before the rules test, Mr. Ward, I still don't understand interference. Can we go over it one more time? Yes, all of that. Because we do want you to pass the test. We want you to become umpires. So it's those 4 1-hour sessions, that field mechanics session on the 9th. And what that involves is about a half day. It's going to start out what will seem painfully early for a 13 or 14-year-old boy. You'll have to go out there. It's going to be cold. Maybe it won't be, but let's face it, it's routinely cold and nasty. You're going to go out there. That's where we, by the way, pass out the shirts, the indicators, all the cap for our new umpires. And you will go through a solid 4 hours of field mechanics training where you will be rotated through stations, most of which will be managed by veteran District 57 umpires. We have guys in the district, not in our league, but guys in our district who've actually gone and done Little League World Series games, the softball World Series. So there's a very high level of expertise within the district. Unfortunately, not within the league. If I'm in the UIC, I am not an expert umpire. I've been doing this for a few years. Well, this is my second year as the UIC, third year as having been trained as an umpire. I would send you to someone like Chris Gallinati if you really want someone to answer like your expert mechanics questions rather than someone like myself. But that's one of the advantages of the field mechanics training is you get superb umpires who will teach you the right way to do things, because one of the things that is most important for you as an umpire is you've got to look like people belong there. And there's an awful lot you can get away with if you are vocal and confident. And guess what? That doesn't apply to umpiring. Let's face it, that applies to life. That applies to everything. If you're loud enough, if you're vocal enough, and you're confident enough, you're going to get away with it. And that's one of the most important things in umpiring. Any other questions? Okay, well,
if they start, you said they start at double A?
yes, what we do with the first-year umpires is we might as well talk a little bit about this because I don't want anyone's expectations to be, to be unrealistic. First-year umpires work double A games. It just is the way we do things. And it's because we want to make sure that there is a healthy age difference between the umpires and the people who are playing in those games. It can be a real problem because double A also happens to be not just first-year umpires out there umpiring for the first time. It also happens to be the first time people are playing real baseball with kid pitch. I know that we have some, kid pitch that gets introduced at the A level right now, but it's the first competitive level we have in the league where, we actually have a playoff. And we do that at A, but no one takes it that seriously. Everyone at A level is great. And for some reason, when it goes to double A, it's like a switch is flipped and people start to become more competitive. So it can often be a perfect storm of what are essentially new coaches in a new competitive environment, and kids for the first time thinking their games matter. Guess what? They don't. And umpires, for the first time, put in those positions. And so we often have, it can be a real steep learning curve because one of the biggest complaints I'll have is we just couldn't hear what the umpire said. And it takes a while for you behind the plate to learn to say, strike! So that everyone can hear it. Strike? Do you know what makes a pitch, a ball, or a strike? Exactly right. It's a ball or strike based on what you call it. If I say strike, it's a strike. If you say strike, it's a strike. And that can be a real training. It's both great training for brand new umpires. It's a level at which, kids and coaches have every right to care. Like they want the calls to be right. They're the best team in double A. They deserve the chance to win at double A. We're going to do everything we can to try and train everyone to get it right. But I know Larry and Jack did a lot of double A games together. You're not going to make everyone happy, right? But you know what? Part of the work.
You try to pair up, just one last question on that. You try to pair up a youngster with somebody who's umpired before?
We try initially to have everyone's first game be with a more senior umpire or have a more senior umpire watching the game. So we may, for example, pair two 13-year-olds, one behind the plate and one out on the bases, but then have someone like me or one of our more senior umpires. I know that Brian Walsh did a lot of this last year. I think Chris, you did a couple of these, didn't you?
Oh.
Where you went down and watched the double A game.
Oh, yeah. 10 years.
So we try and get a senior guy there so that they can help the guys. And I did this for a few games where you just kind of, during between innings, you go up and you talk. And you just say, look, we're out of position. When there's a runner on first, that's where you're supposed to be. Or I can't hear you calling balls and strikes on the plates. But in an ideal world, we would love to have we would love to say, Aaron, you're going to do a double A, you're a returning umpire, you're going to do the first double A game for a new umpire. We'd love to be able to do that, but we can't. But we do the best we can to try and get some adult supervision there as well.
The medical form that you mentioned, is that just the regular leave release?
It is.
Nothing different?
It is for insurance purposes because, and that actually raises a whole basket of other things I meant to address earlier, but thank you for asking that. We have to have that for insurance purposes. If you end up having to go to the hospital for some reason or are injured as an umpire, you are covered by the league's insurance. You are either a volunteer or an employee of the league, and you are covered, okay? So every now and then it happens. We've only had one umpire in my time as the UIC have to go to the hospital, and it wasn't a big deal. It was just one of those things where he got hit by a foul tip and it caught him in the wrong place, and that's sometimes happens. It wasn't that long. But you know, we need, it is a standard form and it's for Little League insurance purposes. The other thing that several of you have already asked me, and I just have to get out there and I have to tell you this, if you want to get paid, I have to have your Social Security number. It's just the way it works. You become an independent contractor employee. I know this terms legally are actually distinct, but you're an independent contractor working for Little League. You will get a 1099 tax form at the end of the year. Okay, you will be taxed. You are earning income, so you have to have a Social Security number. One of the things that bugs me about this is Social Security numbers are obviously very sensitive information, and a lot of you are very loath to provide that. That's fine. If you provide it, it lives in one of only, as of right now, one of only 3 places. If it's physically on the form, it will be in my possession or it will be in a locked file cabinet where I keep the forms. So the forms get thrown away. You know, so your forms from last year have already been pitched. I don't have them. Don't tell me, Mr. Boardman, you have all my information from last year. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I may have input into a computer, but I didn't say it before. So in the locked file cabinet, or right now it resides in a password-protected spreadsheet file that lives either in my office or that of our lead bookkeeper. Now, a lot of you may still be uncomfortable because you don't know who the lead bookkeeper is and you don't know how careful I am, and I respect all of that. One of the things we're trying to do this year is migrate that information into a payroll management function that has its own bank-like protections for security. Now, it may be that my locked file cabinet is actually better than the bank's privacy program. I don't know that. It's a serious issue. I wish it was different. I wish we could pay people without the Social Security numbers. We just can't, and that's the problem. Other questions? Okay. If you didn't pick up the forms, the medical release form and the volunteer application are here. If you don't want to put the Social Security number in writing, you are welcome to talk to me on the telephone, and I will input it directly into the secure file I keep. I don't need these tonight. If you're here and you're like, gosh, I don't know my doctor's phone number, or I don't know my Social Security number, or whatever else, you can provide this stuff to me by fax or email. Here are some numbers to write down if you don't have them already. My fax number, 937-2521.
Is that going to be the email as well?
My email address, don't use the one through the league website. I've been having a lot of emails pushed to me from there, and I keep trying to get this fixed. The best way to reach me for umpiring is at srblluic@gmail.com. And once you become an umpire, you get to have my cell phone, so that you can call me if something comes up. Any other questions? Email address is srblluic. So think San Rafael Valley Little League Umpire in Chief. Strangely enough, there was no run on that Gmail.
The fax?
Fax is 925-937-2521. Now, the one thing I would ask you not to do is if you're going to send me your Social Security number, that fax machine does sit in my office. Please send me an email or call me to let me know you've sent it. People don't wander through our home trolling for social security numbers, but if I've got a social security number on my fax machine, I like to know that it's there so I can go scoop it up and get it secured. Anyone else? Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you for rules training on Wednesday evenings and at field mechanics, and I'm looking forward to a great season, and you're welcome to email me if you have any additional questions. Thanks.
It says standby.